Hello, awesome people. I hope you are having just an amazing day today. Today I wanted to do a flashback review of an older war game that hit in the 80s called BattleTech 2nd Edition. This is basically the version of that was remade of Battle Droids, which was originally published as a board game for you folks. I found it, played it when I was in high school religiously, pretty much every weekend with my friends at the things. It was great stuff. Had a lot of fun with it and so forth. It's my favorite war game overall for you folks. I have written on it. I've actually played solo modules with it. I played with MegaMek, and I've been on the online games, BattleTech 2. The online games and such too, both MegaMeks and stuff like that, and I've loved it lots and so forth. So I thought it would be a lot of fun for me to talk about, my thoughts on this flashback game, which is still available for you folks. And I'll link you to it in the comments below in case you're interested in checking it out and following it along the journey with me into what is the glory of BattleTech. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with it. So BattleTech is a war game. It's designed between different operations, what are called mech warriors, or sometimes other people that are piloting like tanks or airplanes that are called aerotech fighters, those sorts of things too, or armored infantry. Those are in the game too, and you are basically playing against each other on a map with different places and such. And so that's the basic theme of the game for you folks. And so basically what will be happening is that you'll choose different things ahead of time, and there are a couple of different ways that you can choose to make sure that sides are even. One common way that was done with it when I was in high school was just adding up tonnage, right? We'd each get 100, like 500 tons or something like that. That means we can have 100, and their tonnage weight goes from 20 up to 100. So you could do like 100 ton as 5 100-ton mechs, or you could 4, or you could do 10 20s, right? And as an example, whatever. So up to a 500 tons and such, something like that. Another way of doing it is battle value, which looks at how well they're armored, how well they're structured, how well their weapons are at different levels of technology and that sort of a thing, and then comes up with a calculation. When you play online on like MegaMek or MekWars and those sorts of things, that's how that's done. So you'll check it out and do that sort of a thing there. So that's how you'll build your mechs and your lances together and put them up against each other. Will be based on the battle value, not based on the mech tonnage. So some mechs are higher per ton punchers, or some others are weaker, like the urban mech and that sort of a thing. All right, so then your battle mechs, you'll fight. You roll for initiative. Every roll is done with a 2-die-6 roll. You roll a 2-die-6 to attack with your weapons of each weapon type. You'll basically, you'll have a gunnery skill that you'll need to hit it, plus your you'll add in terrains in between you, like hills or soft or light or heavy woods, that sort of thing. And so you'll be harder to hit. You'll also be harder to hit at medium or longer ranges, but not short range. That's the easiest one. Also, how much they moved, because obviously how farther they moved, the harder it will be for you to hit them, and then your movement too. So it's really hard to hit. So obviously, there's a lot of different intervening tactics. So one of the things you want to do very, very early on that you'll learn is that your movement is going to be just 1 for running. 1 for walking, 2 for running, or 3 for jumping. But your opponent will be based on the number of hexes that they will. So you want to have your number be a little bit harder than your opponent is. So if you can get a +1 to walk, but you'll give him a +2 to hit you instead, that's good math, right? And so that'll be how you sort of manage combats and such. There are 3 different types of weapons: energy weapons, like lasers and PPCs, Gauss, and then in ballistics like Gauss rifles, machine guns, that sort of a thing, auto cannons, and then missiles like long range and short range missiles. So those are basically different things, and different things have different ranges. So for example, if you hit with the missiles, you'll have launched an entire array of missiles, and then you roll on that chart to see how many will hit. And then after you've hit, if you hit successfully, you'll also roll on a chart with 2-die-6 to see where you hit on the body. And some places are harder to hit than others. Those are typically less armored, so you want to try for those, and that sort of a thing. And so the harder ones to hit, like for example, if you have boxcars or you're 2, you got a floating critical, or you hit the head, which is very lightly armored. It can take out a mech in one hit. One hit kills if you hit a mech with enough damage in their head, or a 30 arm, or a through shot armor with a 2. So you want both of those for you folks. So you'll roll either to hit. If you hit, you'll roll your location, and if you hit with the missiles, then you roll how much damage you got to hit, and they'll go you'll get separated by location. So in the batches of 5 for LRMs, or 2 or 1 missile, but for short range missiles, and that sort of thing. So that's basically the key cards, and then you start off at different levels of technology. You'll start off in the 3025 era with a level 1 technology, fighting with lower level primitive techs. For this is set in the 31st century, and early on in the 3020s, you're in the midst of what are known as in the Fourth Succession War era. Dark times have hit mankind. Man is still embracing their military self, if you will. They've never met aliens or anything like that in their massive expansion, which is very, very probably realistic, but we're still having our own selves be the bad guys, if you will. And so we take all of our foibles that we have with us into the future, which I think is probably a pretty realistic view and take on the real world, and so forth. And so we are divided into 5 what are called successor houses that you can fight for, with different levels of technology, different mechs, and that sort of thing. And then later on, the clans will invade too, with level 2 tech. That was lost. And so forth from the Star League. That was like this great shining moment for a few centuries rather, and then fell a little after 2750 for you folks. So it's been around a few hundred years of succession wars and a lot of bad stuff that happened during like nuclear wars and chemical wars and stuff like that. Were bad for stuff, and we have actually attacked people's infrastructures in war, or fought off with with a fighting retreat across victories and such. So it's not a nice place. So level 1 tech. And then level 2 tech is the sole Star League tech, like the Gauss rifles that I mentioned, or ERPPCs and extended range PPCs, and that sort of a thing. Pulse lasers, the Gauss rifle is a huge weapon that was iconic in the Star League. That sort of a thing. So those will obviously have higher levels of needs and such. And then you also will have the level 3 techs, and then you'll encounter the clans and so forth in 2050, right before. And then as that happens, the clans are the lost successors of the Krenskis, the retreaters that left after the Star League fell, because they saw how far everything had fallen. And they're like, we could probably build a better society. So they go out and they do. You do form a better society that taxes and such, does different levels of tech, different weapons, different levels of technology, damages, how much do they weigh, and that sort of a thing. Now, when you build a mech, you have to weigh a lot of different things. How much the things weigh, how much your ammo has, if any, how heavy they are, how much weight they make, and so forth. And all those things will happen too. So there's a lot of things to negate and make sure you're taking care if you're out there actively pursuing the map battles and so forth. So sometimes you might want to, but if you go overheat, bad stuff will happen. And you have heat sinks that will dissipate in a certain amount. Level 2 tech has double heat sinks. You want that. Those are really going to help keep your mechs cool once you have those. So there you are. That's a quick little synopsis of BattleTech for you folks, and a little bit about the world building, and a little bit about what you want to do when you're fighting. You got to keep your movement steady. You got to make sure that you're at the right ranges for your weapons, but not for your foes. So if you have a 7 on your PPC, or ERPPC as it's short range, but that's also going to be 6. That's going to be 7 away from their SRMs and medium lasers. So they'll get +4 to hit you for long range, but you'll only have a +4. No pluses, because it'll be short range for you, right? So you got to keep those steady. You got to make sure you're matching your speeds and that sort of a thing. So you got to watch out for some of those things. But then once you do, you'll be good to go. Idaho. So there you are. Okay. So I'll go ahead and have you played BattleTech? If so, what did you think about it? Do you agree or disagree with me that it's the best war game I've ever played? And so forth. What are your thoughts? Do you think it's a nice game for folks? I'd love to hear more about you in the comments below. If you like this video, why not hit the subscribe button, like button, the bell icon if you're feeling first to be notified of my videos, and then also hit to tell your friends if you like BattleTech fans or game fans, right? That's sort of everything. All those fans, folks. The titles of my channel is The Worst Thing About New Books. That's a quote by a French philosopher from the 20th century called Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about them was that they kept us from reading the old ones, right? And this is definitely an older game. That's fun stuff, heavily influential stuff. It was the first major Western mecha style combat. So it's pretty good in a lot of different ways for you folks. So I hope you enjoy it. And it's inspired novels with more than 100, a Saturday morning cartoon, video games. There's also MekWars, the RPG. There's a collectible card game based off of it too. It's heavily influential, toys, everything. Right? It's a huge line. So I hope you enjoyed my little quick little synopsis of this and such. There you go. So finally, I want to thank you so much, for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video, right? Because we all have so many things that are happening in our lives and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spend time with me, that's incredibly humbling and I appreciate it much. So once again, have a great day and thanks.